Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for having us at this Budget Committee to discuss what is revealed as just another set of scams to cover what I, as a native New Yorker, would identify Donald Trump as one of the greatest hustlers that has ever been in the United States. Now, we're going to hear a lot about
The gentle lady is reminded of the House rules that forbid such references to the President of the United States.
That's on the House
She
floor,
may
sir.
proceed.
That's on the House
proceed
floor.
in order. If she does it again, further sanctions will be required.
That's what? Something we hear a lot of is a refrain: a budget is a statement of values. And the values that we are showing here are the values that are not shared by most Americans. There are a lot of cuts that are written into this budget. The bulk of those savings will come from making changes to Medicaid, which currently insures more than 70 million Americans. Another 10 million American children get their health care through the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP. The Republican budget calls for $880 billion in cuts for Energy and Commerce Committee, with health care coverage for 80 million Americans on the table. In the Virgin Islands, over 20,000 people on Medicaid are at risk of losing their health care under Republican budget plans. First out of the gate, the biggest Republican cuts kill health care coverage for children and the poorest Americans. Now, as they said, they will be talking about values in the budget, going against wokeness. I want to talk about what is written in our Bible, which I thought my Republican colleagues were so interested in. In Proverbs, it tells us, whoever gives to the poor will lack nothing, but one who ignores the poor will receive many curses. In Leviticus, it tells us, if any of your fellow people become poor and are unable to support themselves among you, help them so they can continue to live among you. I know that's not something that, unfortunately, my Republican colleagues are interested in anymore. I know that because I was a Republican until I saw the party move away from me. And I realized that it's become even more so when I saw recently a post by President Elon Musk calling the poor the parasite class, calling the poor among us parasites. That's what you've come to. That's what you're believing in now. That is just so abhorrent. So if we're not interested in the poor, if that's not the group that we want to be concerned with, let's talk about the middle class. Let's see how long you guys are going to be supporting the middle class. I don't think that's going to last very long, because when I look at the cuts that are coming, you all talk about money coming back into the pockets of Americans. We know that that's not the truth. This budget is not for the middle class. This budget is for the wealthy. They're proposing $330 billion in cuts in education, much of which are for Pell Grants. Much of this are for working class Americans who are trying to put their children through school. It's for school lunches. It's for pensions, while at the same time extending a tax break for business purchasing equipment. They're cutting nutrition assistance for low-income families. Not poor families, not non-working families, but those who are living on the margins, who need help affording groceries, like eggs, remember that? By at least $220 billion, while providing a tax cut for the 1 in 1,000 estates worth over $14 million per couple. These are the things that this budget is going to be doing. In my home in the U.S. Virgin Islands, early Head Start programs in the territory operate under the jurisdiction of Lutheran Social Services. Taking a hacksaw to funding is tantamount to tearing up the pages that should be giving us this wisdom. While pushing their agenda to give trillions in deficit-busting handouts for the richest few, Republicans continue to be eerily quiet on the things that really matter to Americans. The Republican budget plan will do nothing to lower costs. They will actually do the opposite. The budget rips off hardworking American families and drives up costs of everything that the Americans actually need to live. I leave you for a moment with one last quote from Proverbs. He who has a generous eye will be blessed, for he gives his bread to the poor. This budget not only takes from the poor, it takes from those hardworking Americans who are trying to get by, who believed the lies of our president in that campaign. Reality bites.
Gentlelady